Hello friends and welcome back to Generation Pixel Land. If it's the first time you popped along to the channel, well, you picked a good day to do so because it's near the end of July and it's pickups day. Now the reason I do pickups videos, it's quite simple. You see, I have collected and sold many times over the last few decades, but this time it's the final collection. It's the Omega collection. So everything that you see me picking up, well, this is my catalogue, just to see how quickly and how well the collection is growing. And if you want to see what I've picked up over the last month, well, just wait until after the titles. So here we are, it's time to reveal the pickups for the month, and as per normal what I'm going to be doing is showing you the newest games or the more current games and then working my way back through time to the more retro games. So starting off, we're going to have this Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I am absolutely choking to play this. I haven't yet put it on. It is installed in the PS5 and it's ready to go. I have a week off next week, so nothing to do but to play some video games, and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, I am so looking forward to playing this boy. I can't tell you, basically because it's the first PlayStation 5 game that has been built from the ground up to run only in the PlayStation 5. Now I know we've had other games such as Demon's Souls, but even now we can see that they're going to go back and make Demon's Souls a PlayStation 4 game as well. But this, there's no way they can do it. It needs the speed of that SSD, and that is the first pickup to be shown. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart for the PlayStation 5. Now that was the only PlayStation 5 game, as I tend only to pick up one a month with the PlayStation 5. So let's move down the time scale and we're going on to the PlayStation 4. And the first one that I've picked up, or two I should bring out together, because it was bringing these back into the collection, and that's Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Now these games are fantastic. I don't know whether you're a fan of the Assassin's Creed games or not, but they really did update the games when they brought out Origins. No longer was it, one bad guy can attack you at a time. It was much more open world RPG light, and it was right down my street. Now I have always loved the Assassin's Creed games, right from the very first one. The very first one was the game that forced me into buying a PlayStation 3 at the time. And yes, they did get maybe a little bit stale, with the exception of maybe Black Flag when they introduced the pirate element to that game. But when they came back with these after Syndicate and Unity, they really did put new life into the Assassin's Creed games, and I was happy to get these back into the collection. And I say back into the collection because I've had them before. So also, now this one came out the better half box. Some of you will have seen this pick up already, and that is Owlboy. And I've played maybe about 2 hours of this, and it's frustratingly hard at times. It's proper modern retro, so anyone who's into their modern retro should definitely get their hands on Owlboy, because it will fill that gap that some of us have for looking back to the old retro hard games, like the NES hard games, but with updated graphics and controls. So Owlboy, certainly one that you should have in your collection. Next up, Far Cry 4. Now Far Cry 4 I have played and have owned in the past, but I haven't completed this one. The first Far Cry game that I actually completed was 5, which I absolutely adore, and now I already have that in the collection. But Far Cry 4 was another one that I needed to get back in, and I need to get this one completed as well. So that's not only on the it needed to be bought list, it's on the it needs to be completed list. So Far Cry 4 is back into the collection. Now next up, one that I also had, I mean most of these I've also had in the past and got rid of, and that is Division 2. Now I'm not even sure whether people still play Division 2 online. I'm sure they do, but this was merely for the collection, as I put a few hours into Division 2 when it came out, and the First Division, but I have the First Division up there in the collection already, so Division 2 obviously had to make its way back in. Then one that I was surprised to find, because I haven't really seen it out in the wild, and I got it for a great price, and that is the Journey. And it's not just Journey, it's got Flower and Flow, it's the collector's edition. Now, for anyone that doesn't know these games, they're I don't like to call them walking simulators, but they're very zen, peaceful games. If you just want to sit down for an hour or two and not be stressed or have too much action in your game, then this is a fantastic little pack of games. I didn't realise that they came out physically anyway, but when I saw it in a charity shop for a very good price, had to pick it up, and it's 3 games that you will pop into just to relax to play, and sometimes you just need a relaxing game every now and again. Now, the last game for the PlayStation 4 that I picked up, I'm quite excited about, because it's another modern retro, but it's a modern retro with a retro, and you'll know what I mean when I bring it up, and it's Alex Kidd DX. Now, this is fantastic. I have played, maybe a couple of hours of it, and well, that's not a lot, but enough just to get my teeth into the new graphics, and of course being able to switch back to the retro graphics, that was quite amazing, to be honest with you. Now, I did play Alex Kidd in Miracle World back in the day on the Master System, and this is one of the things that I truly love about this game itself, is the manual. You have to have a look at that. It comes like an old school manual that you would get in the Master System, and the reversible cover, which I am just going to turn for the first time for you guys, and this will be the way I'll display it on the shelf. So away with the new and in with the old. So Alex Kidd in Miracle World will now be displayed on the shelf in all its Master System glory. So happy to get that one into the collection, and can't wait to finish it off. Not for the first time, of course, but certainly the first time on that particular version. And that was the last of the PlayStation 4 games. So now, as I've said in the past, I'm trying to concentrate on the PlayStation 2, but for some reason this month it just wasn't there for me. But where I did manage to, pick up more than I probably should was the PlayStation 3. So Nate at the Game Shack's probably quite happy that I've dedicated so much time, or I'm going to dedicate so much time to PlayStation 3 games. But these are the PlayStation 3 games that I managed to pick up. Now, the first one that I'm going to show you, this was down to Callum, the Retro Ghetto, and I'm sure a lot of you have already subscribed to the Retro Ghetto and know his channel, but he suggested on a video that he done not too long ago games to pick up because they're going to make money, or they're going to make you money, and it was Fight Night Champion on the PlayStation 3. Now, picked it up, nice and complete, but the problem with that was that if I'm going to have Fight Night Champion, then I'm going to have much more to collect, because I then had to pick up the other two, Round 3 and Round 4 on the PlayStation 3, which, yes, it's going to lead me down the rabbit hole of having to pick up Fight Night and Fight Night Round 2 on the PlayStation 2. Now, I didn't see them out in the wild this month, so I'm keeping my eyes open for them, but there we go, and that was thanks to one video from the Retro Ghetto forcing me into buying one game, just to see if his theory about PlayStation 3 prices exploding is true. Now, I'll be frankly honest with you, I don't think it is. I think this is just a glitch in the matrix, because I think COVID had a lot to do with the PlayStation 3 prices, as there's far too many of the discs out there. They're Blu-ray, so they don't damage quite as easily, and they were mass produced at the time, but you never know. Some games have went up in value, but it tended to be the games that were not produced quite so dramatically in numbers. Games like Folklore and Lollipop Chainsaw, and you know the selection of games, but even those games, there was a lot of them made, and I don't see them rising in value. But if Callum says take a chance on this one, he reckons it's going to rise in value, well, you know what, that's the one from that video that I'm happy to pick up, and let's play along with that game. Also, sort of related to Callum at Retro Ghetto. He had a pickups video and he managed to pick up this, which is the Final Fantasy XIII Limited Collector's Edition. Now this is complete in its box with the postcards and the art books, and I'll probably throw in some b-roll just to show you what's in there. But he picked this up and he was happy to get this. Now it was either £8 or £10 he paid for it. For me, however, I managed to pick this up complete and in great condition for 50p, so not even £1, and well, I was over the moon with that. Now Final Fantasy XIII is not one of my favourite Final Fantasy games, and it's one that I still need to finish. So now that I've got this in the collection, as well as obviously the original one, I'm going to have to get this played and get this off the backlog as well. But I didn't want to rub it into Callum that he paid, you know, £8 to £10 for Final Fantasy XIII Limited Collector's Edition, but when you pick up something like that for 50p, then you've just got to, you know, flex a little bit. Now moving on, another game that I picked up, a game that I haven't played, a game with a lot of hate, or it certainly had a lot of hate at the time, and that's Aliens Colonial Marines. Now I have never played this. Picked it up complete in lovely condition, as well all the games that I pick up are complete and in good condition at the very least, because what's the point of having a collection if it's, well, ratty and tatty. So I picked up this because, well, I've got to get round to playing it just to see how bad it truly is, because if there's one thing that I love more than, well, a good game, it's a very bad game as well, because it's the experience more than anything else. I might not play it to completion, but at least I'll be able to understand why so many people levelled so much hate at this game. So for that reason, I'm looking forward to playing that now that I've picked it up. Another game which is part of a subset that I'll be collecting, and that's the 007 or James Bond games, and this month I've picked up Quantum of Solace. Didn't like the movie, I'll be first to say that. I enjoyed Casino Royale and Skyfall, and that was the only two of the Daniel Craig movies that I enjoyed, but we'll see what he's like in video game format, because I haven't played this one and I need it obviously for the 007 subset, which runs of course through more than just the PlayStation 3. It goes all the way back through history, and I'll be talking about getting as many games on the 007 license as possible from right back in the early days, so that'll be an interesting one to collect for. Next up, this is another subset I'll be collecting for, and this is one that I've just finished off, and that's all the Ratchet and Clank games. Now I did have All for One back in the day, because the Better Half, who puts together the Better Half box that some of you guys might be aware of, well, she absolutely loves Ratchet and Clank, and we had this in the collection, but she wasn't a big fan of it and was happy to trade it in back in the day. Mainly because it's not a single player Ratchet and Clank game, it's designed to be multiplayer. Now she did have good fun playing this game with me because I was absolutely hopeless at it, so she got a laugh out of that, but after she'd had her fun with it, she decided to trade it in. But of course, if the Omega collection is coming together and it's coming together for good, then had to get this back into the collection. So Ratchet and Clank All for One, and that just completes off the Ratchet and Clank stuff that I needed to finish that off. Now another two games that I picked up that, well, not normally games that I pick up are first person shooters, but I got these relatively cheap, and it's two from the series that I thoroughly enjoyed watching people play, and that is the original Black Ops, which, well, it was fantastic. This was groundbreaking at the time, and as I've said in many videos before, I couldn't play first person shooters because it gave me motion sickness, and to an extent it still happens. It just depends on the game, it depends on the frame rate and other things as well, but I thoroughly enjoyed watching bits and pieces of people playing this. I had a good friend who, he's so involved in the Call of Duty games, and this is the first one I watched him play, and it was groundbreaking. It was such a good game at the time, and you know what, I'm looking forward to giving a try at least to the campaign just to see where my motion sickness lies with this one. And the other Call of Duty game that I picked up, well, that's World at War, which is one that I did try to work my way through the campaign with because I loved the era it was set in. the more and more futuristic the Black Ops games or the Call of Duty games get, the less interested I seem to be in them. But when they take them back to basics, then I thoroughly enjoy the settings. So 2 that I picked up that I wouldn't normally, but there's 2 that definitely need to be in, well, anyone's collection, just because they're classics of the genre. And also I picked up for another subset, because there's so many subsets, and it's not like I'll go out and just complete a subset then go after another one. I will get the bits and pieces that I require for each of them, and that is Splinter Cell Blacklist. Now the Splinter Cell games, I played the first one, and I think that's the only one that I truly put any time into. But this one, well, it was sitting there, it was under £1, and it's part of a subset that I need to complete for the Omega collection. So there it is, Splinter Cell Blacklist, and I'm looking forward to playing that because I do love my stealth games. Next up, a game I have no idea whatsoever about. It's Conflict. And what's that? Denied Ops. Again, it's a game that I've never played. I have no idea what it's about. It looks like a first person, maybe first or third person option to change shooter. But you know what? It's something I hadn't seen before. And it's another thing that's driving the collection at the moment. Games that I missed out on, whether I missed out on them because I didn't get round to them at the time, or I missed out on them because, well, so many games were released for these series or these systems that you didn't always hear about every single one, and that's one that I had no idea about. So Conflict, Denied Ops, now in the collection, and I will get round to having a look at that quite shortly. Now another series that I had to complete again, or collect for again, and a lot of people will be shocked that these weren't in the collection already, and that's Uncharted, Drake's Fortune and Among Thieves. Yes, I had these in the past, and I got rid of them when I got the collection on the PlayStation 4, as what some of us did, but now that I want more like complete physical collections, and to be honest with you, I don't mind so much the platinum games. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't. If I've got the game in physical form, that's good enough for me. If I was to come across a non-platinum at some point for a reasonable price, then I would swap it out, but I'm more than happy to have platinums. Anyway, I digress. I had to get them back into the physical collection because I've got them digitally and I've got them in the Uncharted collection. So, but the PlayStation 3 versions are back into the PlayStation 3 collection, and I'm happy with that. Now, this is one that I picked up that I already have in the collection, Burnout Paradise. Now, but this was the Burnout Paradise Ultimate Box. I don't know what the difference is between the original Burnout Paradise release and the Ultimate Box. I'm sure I'll find out at some point. Arcade racers are not, well, big for me, but I'll get round to it. I'll compare the two, and I'll decide whether I need to keep the original one, just the plain old Paradise, or do I need both in the collection? Probably not. So at some point you'll probably hear me shouting out saying that if anybody wants Burnout Paradise, just give me a shout and I'll send it your way. And next, another game I have no idea about, Tom Clancy's Hawks. Now, Tom Clancy's games are great, but I never played Hawks. I have no idea what it's about. Looks like it's about jet fighters, so a bit of flight sim, and I like a bit of flight sim. I like my flight sims more arcadey, which is the opposite of my car racing. I prefer a sim when it comes to a racer rather than an arcadey racer, and I prefer an arcadey flight than a proper sim flight, because sim flights are boring. Arcadey type flight games, well, you get missiles and machine guns and it's a bit more fun, right? Which is odd when you think that I absolutely love the sim racing games, but I find the fun in that is the tactics of winning the race, where there's no winning the race in, for example, Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's just a case of trying to experience how to fly a plane. Now, next up is a TV show that, well, I only watched one season of because the second season I didn't enjoy, and I watched about 3 or 4 episodes of, but there was a video game. I didn't pick it up at the time because, well, I lost interest in the TV series so quickly. But you know what? It's a video game. It's a PlayStation 3 game. This was cheap. and it's one I've heard people talking about, so I'll definitely get round to playing Lost just to see what all the fuss was about in that one. Now next up is a game I also have digitally that I don't think I ever had this one physically. Had it digitally from almost the start, and that's Infamous. And I don't have Second Son or anything like that, or Infamous 2 at the moment. This is the start of another subset, and that's the Infamous subset. But I'm starting right at the beginning with this one, which is a rarity for me, because normally I'll find something maybe 2 or 3 games down the series and then decide, well, I picked that up cheap, I need to get the rest now. This one, picked up this one, and I'll need to get the rest now. So that'll be another sub-series you'll see me working my way through as quickly as I can. Now here's a game that I'll only know because of the cover, and it's a fantastic cover. It's got great box art, wet, and I have no idea what this is about whatsoever. And again, that's part of the thing that intrigues me, being able to pull out a game that I've never played before, experience it for the first time, and see if it's any good. Of course, it's in the collection now, so there's no excuse for that. Now, I do need to work out a better way of finally getting round to play some of these games that I haven't played yet, so I'm not looking for ideas. I've got an idea that I'm probably going to pinch from someone else, and we'll get round to actually playing some of these games that I've never experienced before and recording my first time experience. Another game that I haven't played, again, a game that is loved by most in the community, and that's Dantes Inferno. Again, as I say, haven't played it, but it was out there in the wild. It was £1 or under, because everything that I've picked up here was £1 or under. A lot of them were 50p because I hit a motherload in a shop in a small town in Scotland, which was wonderful, and they were all 50 pence each. And this was one of them, Dantes Inferno. Yep. So looking forward to playing that one. Another one from the 50 pence bundle, as I like to call it, and that is Captain Morgaine. Again, never played this one, don't know much about it, but as pirates, it looks like, I don't know, I kind of get a point and click feel from it. I might just have a read. To seek out the golden turtle. Point and click adventure game. No, there you go. I can't believe this one passed me by. Not at all. This is a point and click adventure that I have never played, and you know what? This one will be going on as soon as physically possible. It might even be going on straight after this video's been shot, I will not lie, because point and clicks, well, they're such an important part of my gaming history, and there's one that I've never even heard of, never mind played, so there we go. Again, another subset that's getting completed, and we've already seen some of the subset that was completed in that one, and that is Assassin's Creed Rogue. Now, did know about this, I have never owned this before, this is the first time I owned it, and purely because I do love the Assassin's Creed games, but I just couldn't bring myself to play as a Templar. I don't know if that's a spoiler for anybody out there, but yeah, in this one you don't play as an assassin, you play as a Templar, and I just couldn't do that at the time. I was just so invested in the assassins. Ezio, Edward, Altair, they were all my good buddies at that time, so playing as a Templar just felt like a betrayal. Couldn't do it, but now Assassin's Creed Rogue is in the collection, and it's got that fantastic Black Flag sort of boat gameplay, and the boat gameplay in Black Flag was fantastic. It really brought the franchise back to life again for many people anyway. And the last one from the PlayStation 3 that will be shown is another subset that I'm putting together physically again, and we have Tomb Raider the 2013 remake, reimagining if you will, on the PlayStation 3. Now I have these digitally on the PlayStation 4, but I want physically on them all, so I will get another copy of this. I will get the PlayStation 4 copy of this as well, the definitive edition or whatever it was they called it, and that will sit beside that as well, because I will have all the Laras together, because again, Lara was a huge part of my gaming history. Back to the first Tomb Raider, it was the second, it may have been the second or third game that I'd completed in its entirety on the PlayStation when it was first released. Resident Evil being the first game that I completed on the PlayStation back in the day. Now we're going down again, and we're going down into PlayStation 2 now. This is the set that I should be collecting heavily for, but I just didn't find anything out in the wild. Yeah, I know I've got the likes of eBay and what have you, but I want to get as much out in the wild for as low a price as possible to get this collection bulked back up again. And the first one, well, everybody knows, or most people know in the channel, especially Ginger Hippie Gaming, I love a good golf game, and I love the Tiger Woods games. In 2004, that was one of the better ones that I recall, but I don't know, because I'm going to have to play it to find out if it's the one that I'm thinking about. I mean, back in the early 2000s, we played most of the Tiger Woods games, but there was one in particular that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I believed it was 2004, so I'll be cracking this one soon just to see, will I get all the Tiger Woods games? Possibly not. It's not a subset that I'd be chasing down. I'll be getting good examples from each system, and that's pretty much what I'll be going for with that, or any outstanding versions of the game, then that's fine. You won't see me getting Tiger Woods 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007 ad infinitum. No, it'll just be the ones that I want to get, and a selection from each system, and any sort of examples of where the game changed slightly in gameplay, or improved, or maybe even got worse, because sometimes they make a mess of games when they change them up. After that, another subset I'm going for, because I don't do arcade racers, but I started picking them up because they're a must in any collection, and I'm going to have to start doing them obviously, and they were Burnout 3 Takedown, and that'll sit nicely with my Burnout 2 that I've got up there, leaving Burnout 1 to pick up for this. Now, I don't do a great deal of research into the arcade racers that I need to collect, so I don't know if 1, 2 and 3 were the only ones on the PlayStation 2, but once 1, 2 and 3 are sitting up there, ones that I definitely knew existed in the franchise, I will then dig into the research, jump down the rabbit hole to see what I need to collect to make this complete. And the last one, another game for £1, and one I'd never heard about. Heard about the first game, State of Emergency, but this is State of Emergency 2, and this one just screamed by me. I mean, that box art is fantastic. It's so ridiculous and so of its time, and honestly, can't wait to play it. I mean, there's some of that. I might even throw in some gameplay of this one, because I'm looking forward just to dipping into it, see exactly what it is, because I didn't play State of Emergency. I was aware of State of Emergency, but I hadn't played it. But State of Emergency 2, when I saw that box art sitting there for, I believe it was £1, this one, yeah, I had to get it. It was a no-brainer. Even if I don't like it, the box itself is well worth displaying, especially for £1. Now, moving on, we're going somewhere different now. So there's going to be a jump cut here, because I have to bring out a new system. So here we go. And as if by magic, I'm back. And that's right, I've got a new system. So there is a new system making its way into the games corner. I'll call it the games corner, because that's pretty much all I've got at the moment. And the new system, well, this is going to put a smile on the face of probably three people out there that I know and talk to, and that's Sega Zombie, Sega Head and Sega Blocks, because the new system, and for the first time ever owning one, I have a Dreamcast. Yeah, popped out and got myself a Dreamcast. Had to get one for the collection. It's not my only Sega console, as you'll know that I picked up the Mega Drive not that long ago, and I needed the Dreamcast to go beside it. Now, first impressions, well, I've got first impressions of it, obviously, because you don't buy a system without picking up a game, and the game that I chose to pick up for it just now is Sonic Adventure. And oh my goodness, the graphics in this are fantastic, and not only the graphics, the quality that they outputted to this 55-inch 4K TV through a simple SCART connection. Now, I do have devices to upscale, line doublers, didn't use it, I just plugged it in raw using the good old cable, threw it into a SCART, and I'm not joking when I say this took my breath away. Normally, yes, you can still play them through composite or component or even SCART, but they look awful. This looked much more than I imagined it was going to look. It's so much better. The output is so much better than even the PlayStation 2 that you could have picked my jaw off the floor when I saw what this little machine was capable of. Now, I know Sega made some mistakes when it came to marketing their newer consoles when it came to the Saturn and the Dreamcast. And I know they probably made a mistake having not DVD in here, or not even CD. They had their own proprietary disc, the GD disc or whatever it was, the game disc, and that's probably what killed this, along with obviously Microsoft entering the arena. But there we go, new system in, and I am absolutely blown away with it so far. And it's only one game, I know, but I can imagine that the output from it is just going to be the same quality from the other games that were out on the system. Now, I'm not going to collect heavily for this system. There's going to be a selection of games that I want to have for it, but I'm, however, a hardware fan, so I will collect hardware that I'm not interested in collecting the games for. I wouldn't collect games that I wasn't interested in collecting the hardware for, if you understand. But yeah, to stop waffling, the Sega Dreamcast is now in the collection. I will put together a small collection of games for it. If anyone out there actually has any idea what games are must-haves and a reasonable price, as I start to panic over the thought of money flying out my wallet, but any games that I should definitely have in the collection, then pop it in the comments, because I certainly want a few examples for this. Hence the reason that I got the Sonic Adventure, because, well, you had to get the first Sonic game for it. Also picked up for it, of course, a Wii vibration pack and a VMU as well, because if you're going to play games you need a memory card, and us old school gamers know that only too well. So there we go, the Dreamcast is now back, or not back, for the first time it's in my collection, and I cannot stress enough just how good the quality of image that gets pumped out of that little console is. It is absolutely fantastic. As I said, it beat the PlayStation 2 hands down when it came to putting display onto a modern TV without any sort of interference, without me having to pull out the retro tank or anything like that. So I was more than happy. So that's the system, but now we're going back, and what I'm going to do now is we're down to the last few, and I picked up a couple of PC games, because yes, I also PC game, because that again was a big part of my history. And I picked up SimCity 4. Now, I haven't played SimCity 4, I played the original SimCity, SimCity 2000, SimCity 3000. SimCity 4 passed me by, probably a little bit later in release. In other words, if it came out after the PlayStation came out, then my PC gaming sort of fell by the wayside at that point. So SimCity 4, I do love a good SimCity game, or any sort of sim game, let's face it. And that went into the collection for the first time. And this was a gift from a fellow YouTube content creator, Jim Curbana. He sent me Mafia for the PC. Now, I have Mafia for the PlayStation 2, and I plan to pick up the remaster, the remake for the PlayStation 4. And once I have all the versions together of Mafia, I'm going to play them back to back and compare them. But yeah, this came from Jim Curbana. Thank you very much, Jim, for that. Wonderful gift, and he doesn't play PC, or he didn't want this one in his collection, so he happily sent it my way. Can't thank him enough for that. And no doubt I'll find a way to repay him somewhere down the line. Down to the last two games now, people. You'll be glad to hear. And this one came out the better half box. It's the only PlayStation game that I picked up, and it's Apocalypse. And my goodness, this is a lot of fun. I won't lie. It's like a twin stick shooter. Now I haven't played it with the dual analog stick pads that I have for the PlayStation. I played it with an original pad, which is obviously D-pad and 4 buttons, and that's how you control movement and where guns firing, so kind of like a twin stick shooter. I don't know if I put in the analog pad that it'll play like that, and if it does, it'll probably be so much better, because working your way around the 4 fire buttons or the 4 face buttons on the PlayStation wasn't the easiest way to shoot in multi directions. But Apocalypse with Bruce Willis, and well, it's a bit of 90s cheese, and it's supreme 90s cheese. Well worth picking that one up. So, and if you want to see the gameplay of that, I mean, you just jump back and watch the better half box, because I threw a bit up in that as soon as I got this. Now last but not least, we have ZX Spectrum game, the Thundercats, also came out the better half box. Fantastic game. The graphics are wonderful. I mean, I'll try and show you there, but I'll probably cut in some B-roll, because I'm generous like that with B-roll. It's a good old fashioned ZX Spectrum cassette tape that I've had gently take out. For those of the audience that have never played 8-bit micros, have only maybe been cartridge or CD, DVD or Blu-ray based, that's how we used to load our games, through a cassette tape. And this is wonderful. This came from an eBay seller, my better half, who put together the better half box. Got this from an eBay seller, and he helped her a great deal apparently in finding the right game at the right price that was fully tested and good to go. In fact, he put in so much work, she's asked me if I can shout him out, so I don't have the details to hand, but I will certainly throw it up in the screen. And anyone looking to pick up some ZX Spectrum games, well, feel free to check out this guy on eBay, because apparently he'll do you a solid. And that is the last game that I picked up this month. So, as you can see, lots of different systems from lots of different generations. Didn't stick to my PlayStation 2 as I've been trying to do, but like I say, if you don't see it out in the wild and you don't want to just jump on eBay and pick up at maybe prices that you don't need to pick up for at the moment, then don't do it. Just bide your time. And I stumbled into an absolute treasure chest of PlayStation 3 games, and they sit in the collection just as well. So if you've enjoyed this video, you know the score. You can throw me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy it, well, throw a thumbs down, and we can discuss that all in the comments. Anything that you want to discuss about what I've picked up, then please throw it down in the comments. I'm more than happy to chat all day with anyone out there who's interested in communicating with myself. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this, well, I'll put out a pickups video once a month anyway. Even if I only pick up one thing that month, I will still do it, because this is how we're going to catalogue this Omega collection. And if you want to keep up to date with that, the subscription button is always right there for you, and it's always free, and you can always change your mind. And of course, I put out other content too. Check through the history. I put out things from all sorts of generations. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, cheerio.